All right, we should be live now. Good evening, ladies and joims. Welcome to the second episode of Screaming into the Void, where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like. Uh, Today we have with us again the Jamericans, which Mr. and Mrs.
That's
And with me, as always, is Maester Chow. Sometimes I call him Garth. Those
Party
of you
on here.
who are not Gen Zers will get that reference. So, all right. So today, we've got kind of a range of topics. They're all over the place. We'll see where it takes us, and hopefully y'all enjoy listening. Those of you out there in YouTube land, I'm gonna start saying YouTube land more often. I think that's funny. You remember back in the day when people used to say Radio Land or TV Land. I mean, that's kind of where I'm going with this.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, YouTube land has definitely taken over where the TV land demographic used to be.
Oh, it sure has. Streaming is killing television. I mean, cable's more or less dead.
Well, hey, video killed the radio stars, so why not?
Well, it sure did, and the talkies killed the silent films. Just
Well, you know.
it's the natural cycle of entertainment.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so first thing we got on the agenda today, and apparently this isn't that widely known. It wasn't published much in at least American mainstream media. I kind of had to dig for it a little bit. It came up in something else I was looking at earlier this week. Looks like it was Tuesday or Wednesday. There was a 6.1 earthquake in Afghanistan. Did a lot of damage. Killed at least 155 people. Hey, true believer, welcome to the cast. We got Richard L in the chat as well. Good to see you guys. So this earthquake killed a fair number of people. It says at least 155, and that. So I'm assuming that means bodies found. And in a mountainous region, I mean, a lot of people, they think Afghanistan, they think just mountains and valleys and caves and shit, but they have cities there. So you know, and it looked like it said it hit. It was in the Paktika province. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Yeah, and it smashed a bunch of houses. It's a pretty messed up situation, unfortunately. I'm sorry to hear that, Afghanistan. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I might have to look it up on Al Jazeera. I've found they've been a pretty reliable, very non-biased news source. I mean, they're like BBC World News used to be, only they have way more push-ups.
Sure.
You ever seen those broadcasters, man? They're like freaking ripped.
Well, yeah, I have. As opposed to Don Lemon, you mean?
or lube and tubing.
dang. I'm just looking
Yeah.
up the earthquake now because I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. A lot of people in the
Right.
stateside anyway didn't hear too much about it, and this is one of those things that, like, I mean, natural disasters happen all over the world, and they happen, relatively frequently. But you'd think something like this, like 6.1, is not a small magnitude earthquake. It's not. You'd think that this would have made it out.
Right, but I think it's more geographical location because I mean you think about something like that happening. Oh, it happened in Haiti. We need to help all these people. Oh, it happened in, Japan, or oh, it happened in insert NATO or whatever country that we didn't go in and occupy the hell out of here. And of course, humanitarian aid is going to be right on top of it. But let's face it, the Afghanis don't really like us all that much. So I'm kind of not surprised that it didn't really show up, which is sad because I mean, I think a lot of times we paint with way too broad of a brush.
Hey, Ozzy, welcome in. Yeah, well, that, and you got to consider too that our media has been more or less consumed with news of Afghanistan for 20 years.
Right.
So they're I don't know, maybe they just feel like taking a break, which is sad because this is probably one of the most newsworthy things that come out since the exit strategy.
Right. Well, I can bet you dollars to donuts. I know one huge organization that's probably over there providing humanitarian aid, and I mean that's just because they get to pretty much every natural disaster to help people out. And for as much flack as they get, I mean that's one of the big props you got to give to the LDS churches. I mean they go out there and they help a lot of people with humanitarian aid.
Well, where they're allowed.
Yeah, and I think they're allowed in Afghanistan. I mean, maybe not to proselytize or try and convert members, but I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll definitely accept aid.
Oh, sure. Yeah, actually, I think the head of the, or no, there was a spokesman for the Taliban, because they are, I guess, the official government over there now.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he actually is asking for all aid agencies to help.
Fair
You
enough.
know, he said, and I quote, "We urge all aid agencies to send teams to the area immediately to prevent further catastrophe." Which, I don't see any issue with that. It's one thing to disagree with somebody on how they run their country or philosophical or political differences or whatever, but I mean, you got kids buried under houses.
Yeah.
Dig them out. you know. So, and that leads me to my next point, which is oh, and I want to preface this too. I'm not making fun of or making light of, anyone who got hurt. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm just making a joke because sometimes you got to laugh in the darkness. Otherwise, the darkness laughs in you. Cats are assholes.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Cats are assholes. And here's my reasoning. Cats, you may not know this, cats can sense earthquakes coming hours, sometimes even days before they actually reach us, before we ever feel any of the effects. But do they say anything? Do they warn us? Do they let us know what danger is coming? No, they do not, because cats are assholes. Discuss.
Yes, they are. Well, actually, real quick, Ozzy, I see your chat there, and yeah, we do have a pretty huge network of storehouse and distribution networks, just specifically for humanitarian aid. I've actually been born and raised in the LDS church all my life. I'm not a very good practitioner of it. If you're ever to see me covered in my tattoos and all the other shady things that I've done over the course of my life, but
Very
yeah,
shady.
shush. But yeah, they do some really really great things, and I think the world is very very blessed to have them. To be honest, back to your point about cats being assholes. Fun fact: if you have cats and you unalive at some point in time, your cats will eat your eyeballs first because they're the softest and the squishiest. I kid you not, it is a fact.
See,
Look it
this
up.
is why I don't understand people who take
Where do
these
you
little
guys
monsters
find
into
it?
their houses.
You
I
really
have
don't want
I
to
have
know where I find this stuff. This
Oh my god.
These are the things that kept me out of all the good schools. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for that.
I have I have known many cats in my life, and I can tell you that they are homicidal, narcissistic, psychotic little furballs.
Okay.
If you take a cat into your home, it is only a matter of time before you drop dead, and it pairs you with a good red wine.
Now, don't get me wrong. I unequivocally love cats. All right, I've got two of my own. I love those furry little bastards. But I know at the end of the day, they would murder me if they could. I swear to God, they would.
They're just it's evil wrapped in a cute package.
No, see,
Yeah.
Richard, cats have too much brains. That's the thing. They have brains and they're very very smart, and they will plot to take over the earth. The only problem is they weigh 8 pounds. They're God's perfect killing machine, and we keep picking them up and giving them kisses.
That
Yeah.
that's your mistake.
That is the mistake.
And I looked this up too before we started. There are cats in Afghanistan. not only do they have a number of larger wildcats, but they also have plenty of the what we would refer to as the normal domesticated kind. And I guarantee you, dollars to donuts, not one of those bastards said a thing before the earthquake hit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if everyone would have looked, they would have seen all the cats fucked off at one point in time and been like, "Nope, I'm out of here." And hey, earthquake's coming. Watch the cats. Watch
You know,
the cats' behavior.
at least the dolphins, when they left in Douglas Adams' seminal novel, left a message.
Yeah, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
So yeah.
Speaking of cats, you know how we know the Earth is not flat? Cats would have pushed everything off the edge by now. Prove me
Yep.
wrong.
Yep. Kind of true. Damn cat.
Oh man, Ozzy raises a good point. We know, you know what though? We know they exist because they refuse to let us ignore them.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, dogs think they're human, cats think they're God. And I would love to hear anyone argue that with them.
It
like
is
that.
true. It
Oh,
is
that's
true.
a great point. Yeah, I'm more of a dog person, but because cats are assholes. That's exactly why.
I told you it would make sense.
Yeah, it's perfect sense. I'm like, I always get so annoyed. I'm like, look at the cat. Like, they don't want to be pet, on your terms. It's on their terms only. I'm like, forget it. But you call the dog, and you're like, come here, puppy. Dog's instantly there, or they just never leave you alone.
Yeah.
Yep. No, cats are perfectly content to let you rot in the corner and occasionally take a little nibble.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I mean, dogs will do it too, but out of desperation, and they'll feel bad about it.
Yeah, but any dog is simply 3 missed wheels away from being a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the little purse puppies.
Yeah, exactly.
The stroller dogs.
You think about it, I mean, like, chihuahuas, man, those are just some vicious little bastards. It doesn't matter what you do. You don't even have to, like, you look at them wrong, and they will murder you, or at least try to murder you. They might bite your ankles really hard, but still.
To answer your question, Richard, it's because I don't like cats. That's why we're talking about cats. Generally speaking, I'm not a cat person.
And I wanted to bring flat earth into it because, I think flat earthers are really kind of, well, morons. They're all morons.
Very true, very true. Although I do wonder, because as you know, there is a flat Earth society
with members all around the globe,
which is funny. It is, but it's not quite as funny as the fact that occasionally they send out expeditions to find the edge of the Earth, and sometimes they don't come back.
So it just kind of makes you wonder: is the Great Atuan a guy or a girl? Or something else?
That might be a little esoteric. I don't know how many Terry Pratchett fans we have watching today, but yeah, that it's a reference to the Discworld. And yes, it is. So, but yeah, so all right, let's move on a little bit. So did you guys see the video of that guy? And there was a Chinese tenement, and it was going to be knocked down. They sent the guy with the big old backhoe and to knock this tenement down. And there was a dude who lived in the tenement in China, mind you, who wasn't having it. So he beat the guy back with fireworks.
And this guy wasn't just having it, not having it. He was. Should we all stand up like this to our government? I wholeheartedly believe so. And Sam, you have got to play the clip because this is worthy of everyone's time. I promise you this.
I am bringing it up.
I can't wait to see it.
You're gonna love it. It was awesome.
I'm super.
I laughed my ass off.
All right, so this is the clip of dude just, oh man, not only did he fight it back, but he freaking won.
And those cat backhoes, those things are not small. I mean, I've worked around those things most of my life, and they're just crazy.
I mean, and the best I can figure is that. Hold on, just a second. Best I can figure is that that guy beat the he beat the thing. Like how does fireworks take down a backhoe? I'm assuming some of it got into the cockpit area, and the driver panicked would be my guess. But
I'd
yeah,
say that's a good guess.
that was nuts.
Well, and the possibility is, I mean, if he did damage enough to one of those tracks, I mean, they're not very sturdy at all. So depending on how his tracks are parked, all he has to do is take out one track, and the counterweight itself will do the rest of the work. I mean, I've seen those counterweights straight up fall off there. I've watched track hose fall off of freaking high walls. It's nuts.
Yeah. But I mean, the downside to this, like I'm glad he won, and I'm glad he stood up. But the downside to this whole situation is that the people who sent that backhoe are the freaking CCP, and they will come for his head.
Oh yeah, they're coming for his ass. There's no two ways about that.
And that's a damn shame if you ask me. But even if they try to scrub this shit from the internet, I mean, it's out there. It's out there now. People can see people standing up against the fucking CCP. They can see that you can fight back. And I think if more people in China, I mean, I don't know how many of them are actually content with the way things are. You got to keep in mind that nothing of substance has changed for the average Chinese citizen for about 5,000 years. Doesn't really matter who's in charge, but there've got to be more people like this man who are just sick of it.
But it kind of puts me in mind of that amazing quote from V for Vendetta. People should not fear their governments. The government should fear the people. Because last I checked, we were a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And they seem to have forgotten that. And I wonder if it's not time for a little bit of a reminder, or at least to show them that, hey, we're not going to lay down and die over this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, best I can figure, like, I don't know. I just think that it's time. You definitely know the people in Hong Kong are down for this. But as for the mainland, your guess is as good as mine, man. I had 2.1 billion people in that country, and the CCP is actually staffed by a much, much, much smaller percentage of people by comparison. If they wanted to, they could turn around and they could take them out. They could, absolutely.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
But they haven't done it, and I think that sucks. But this man gives me a little bit of hope.
Right.
Sure does. Sure does that, guys.
Hey, I was taking a look at your comment there about being a Gnostic atheist. I'm actually going to circle back around to that, because that's kind of one of our topics of discussion today. So stay tuned. This could get interesting.
So, but yeah. So, long story short, backhoe's beaten by a man with fireworks, which is just, I mean, even if you weren't looking at it from a political angle, right? Just from being a dude perspective, like, who doesn't like watching shit get blowed up?
I sure enjoy it. I thought that was great.
That's what I miss most about mining is, just being out there, seeing all those like cash shots and coal shots and dirt shots, just watching things just get blowed up in huge quantities. I loved it. Loved it.
Super fun. It's kind of like that thing, that wiring in the back of most men's brains. And I don't think this is necessarily true of women. This is a man thing. But if somebody put in front of us a gigantic red button, and the button said "do not push," and there was a big flashing neon sign right above the button that you couldn't miss, even if you wanted to. You close your eyes and you can still see it. It's that bright. That said, "For the love of all that is holy, do not under any circumstances press this button." Men would push the button just to see what happens.
Hey,
Yeah,
our love is unholy. We have to be equal opportunists here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think women would do that. We'd just be like, but you see the sign says, yeah, no,
Yeah,
No,
but
I
the
don't
sign
need
doesn't tell you what
directions. I'm a
happens. We have to
man.
find out.
no, something bad is gonna happen. That's the purpose of the sign. So we're not doing it. We're not
Yeah.
doing it. Mm-mm.
Sometimes I think being a boy is much more fun.
I mean, I do think boys have more fun sometimes. I can agree with that.
Psychotically dangerous, but still fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I say we're also way more likely to blow ourselves up in the process of doing
Yeah.
things.
Right,
So
but you
Totally
won't know
agree.
until you push the button.
But you have to push the button to find out. Yeah,
exactly, you never know till you try.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's
totally agree.
it's a thing with men, with the males of the species. We see big red button and we feel the I can't even walk past a crosswalk that's got one of those big shiny red
Oh
buttons that
God.
changes the lights without pushing it. It doesn't matter if I'm using the crosswalk or not. I cannot stop myself from pushing that stupid button, which of course brings traffic to a halt and makes everybody mad, especially if I just keep walking.
See, I think that's the reason that you really do it is just to piss everybody off. I mean, in your primal lizard brain, I'm pretty sure it's just to piss everybody off.
It may be.
Yeah.
I do like being a dick.
That could be a possibility. It's like, you ever watch a little boy play? Like, because I mean, as everybody, well, almost everybody knows, we have 5.5-year-old boy girl twins, and like, our son is totally different from our daughter. Like, there'll be something just sitting on the edge of the table, and it's kind of like the cat thing. He'll just walk by and wah, and I'm talking like he'll cock his arm back and swat it right off the table. It's like, for what? Why? Well, and you ask him, no idea. Our daughter will
Seemed
walk
like a
past
good
his
idea at the
fence.
time.
I don't know.
Indeed, Richard. Indeed. So on to the next topic. One of the big points of contention that we have in today's society, in today's American, society, is overly litigious, as high as our divorce rates are, as just nasty in general as the word between the sexes has become. Is the contention by, I'm going to try and be as diplomatic as possible here, fourth wave feminists, that fathers are not only unnecessary, but in fact bad for society. I disagree.
Vehemently so.
Totally disagree.
I mean, look at all the things that have been happening lately. Specifically, I mean, if we want to bring up, kind of past events that are still kind of current, you look at what happened, that the tragedy down in Texas, and the dude came from a fatherless home. You look at most of the mass shootings, and typically the common denominator that you'll find amongst all of them is they were all raised in a single parent, typically fatherless home. You need that balance. You need the emotional support and the emotional teaching from the mother, and then to also have the logical, the digital support, so to speak, because women are analog, men are digital. Women are all about, feel, the warmth, the this, the that, the how it all melds together, and men are zeros and ones. It is, it isn't, it's black, it's white. But you need both of those teachings to really become a good, well-rounded human being. And yes, a no-fault divorce is definitely a huge mistake. I mean, same thing with irreconcilable differences. There's all sorts of excuses that people come up with to be like, well, screw this marriage, I'm out of it. I'm going to come up with insert bullshit excuse here to get out of this marriage. If that's the way you're going to think and the way you're going to feel, why would you do that to begin with? Because I used to hold the view that marriage is literally betting someone half your shit that they're going to love you the rest of their lives. And yeah, it's a pretty cynical way to look at it, but it's not completely untrue, because how is it that, and this goes both ways. I've seen women get the short end of the stick on this. I've seen men get the short end of the stick on this. One of the partners will work very, very hard to get, very far in life. And yeah, sometimes it is everything, that's for sure, but get really far in life, and suddenly they're divorced, and half of everything or all of everything that they have worked for is gone. and they're done. They're destitute. They have nothing left, and they're paying God only knows how much in alimony, God only knows how much in child support, and basically they can't survive.
Yep. And that's true believer. I think that's true too. A lot of those mass shooters were on selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are bad um, in most cases. Um, but yeah, that's a good point, and it is my favorite excuse for not wanting to stick it out with a marriage. And I say this is my favorite because this is the one I heard firsthand. I feel like I've lost myself. I don't know who I am in this marriage. I need to go find myself again. That yeah, that was the reasoning I was given.
Yeah.
I've heard that story from a lot of women.
Hmm.
I mean, in your case, Samuel, your ex-wife, where I've had so many friends say that I just don't know who I am anymore. It's like, what? I can't understand that. I can't understand that. It's a shame. Shame.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, but the fact is that the no fault divorce, whatever the excuses are for that. Although I think if you really think about it, we know what the excuses were for the reasons for the no fault divorce were to break apart families in poor neighborhoods, specifically black ones. They didn't expect that to trickle over to other neighborhoods, upper crust, white neighborhoods, in the same way they didn't expect the crack epidemic to do. But it's the sole purpose of that was to engineer a breakdown of the nuclear family and to engender a dependence on the government, because the welfare state came about right around the same time. And it has been eating at the underbelly of our society. And so people are incentivized to break up. People are incentivized to be deadbeats. People are incentivized to leave their husbands. And you end up with a bunch of fatherless homes. And the fact is men and women are different. You're right, Maester Child. You need both parts in order to raise a whole human, because that child is one half of the one and one half of the other. It's not, and there are things that men can teach their children that women cannot. There are things that women can teach their children that men cannot. We're just not equipped to do it. You guys have probably heard this analysis before, but coming from my mother, actually, she described the difference between men and women in terms of the way they think. As men compartmentalize everything. So you think of a big chest that has a bunch of tiny drawers. Everything in its place. Everything is separated from everything else. When we need to recall something or think about something, we can just pull out the drawer that the thing is in, and then we put that away and we get to the next drawer, or whatever we do there. Women, on the other hand, their minds are a lot more like a big bowl of messy spaghetti, where everything's touching everything else and everything's connected to everything else.
Right, but here's the real rub of it all. Much like a woman's purse, who I wholeheartedly believe that is a portable black hole. You can find anything and everything in it, but only the woman can find anything and everything in it. If I were to reach in there, I would lose a hand. If my
Yep.
wife reaches into her purse, she can be like, "Oh, here you go. Here's what you're looking for." Like, what? How the hell did you do that?
Yep.
You look in that thing and it's just chaos incarnate. So, well, yeah, it might look like a big messy bowl of spaghetti. They know exactly where everything is in that organized chaos.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. Thinking so many things at one time, but it's like we can tell you exactly what we're looking for, exactly how to find it. It's true.
I was trying to keep my D&D nerd from showing, because yes, it is a bag of holding. Just don't put a human in it, because they will suffocate in like 3 to 6 rounds.
Yeah, that's where you lose me. Right there. That's where you lose. I know what a bag of holding is, because I played video games, but the rest of the stuff not so much.
Yeah, no, I'm tabletop all the way when it comes to D&D.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the thing. You know, fathers are necessary. Without fathers, you raise weak sons. You know, without mothers, you raise women who don't know their place in the world, don't know how to find their place in the world. You know, and by that, by the way, YouTube, I'm not saying women need to know their place. That's not what that means. Little context. Just saying. You know, and Carrie, I know you have no filter. That's why you're not on the panel. Um,
Gary, are you sure you're not Admiral Akbar? You know, it's a trap.
oh man, I'm gonna
But
have
you know, this actually kind of segues into something else. I think we should talk about. I mean, without dipping into the Supreme Court's decision, this is actually something that I don't want to talk about. What I do would rather talk about though is the adoption system.
yeah,
To get those children into a loving family with two parents that can help raise them, you know, to be good functioning human beings, good functioning members of society. And you know, as a person that's dealt with that myself, I was lucky enough that the family that adopted my son were personal friends of mine. However, I know I worked with some people at one of the coal mines that they had been trying for years and years and years to adopt and dump tens of thousands of dollars into this. And it's horrible, horrible how much red tape, how much money, how much everything it takes to try and find a child in need a good home. And we
and
really need
oftentimes
to
they're told
revamp that.
no.
Yeah,
Oftentimes, at the end of that process, after all of that investment and all of that attempt to do things right and to get past the red tape, they're told no. We
yeah,
had an epidemic in the 80s and especially in the 90s after the fall of the Iron Curtain. When the USSR broke up, a lot of those old former Soviet states, you know, they fell apart economically. And one of the things that they did, some of the black markets over there did to kind of make up for that economic shortfall was to steal quote unquote excess children from families and sell them to Americans who wanted to adopt but couldn't do it because the red tape was too thick here. And still is, by the way. You know, there were, and it wasn't just those states in particular. I'm just bringing them up because, like, there were a lot of kids from Romania, for example, you know, who got smuggled out to genuinely loving people over here. But what they didn't consider, those parents never considered, was where those children came from, because a lot of times they weren't orphans, they were stolen. Um, but that happened, a lot of that happened because our government has made it so difficult to adopt a child, which is silly because there are many, many couples and homes who would love to take children in this
you know,
country, and they'd love to
unless
do it the right way.
unless you're Angelina Jolie, then you can just be like, I want that one and that one and that one, and these are all going to be my kids. Thanks, bye.
Yeah, she's got receipts for them. She bought them.
Yeah, yeah. Mail order kids.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, that's so if we were able to, if we could revamp that system here in the United States, I think well, that would solve a lot of problems, because that opens up options in terms of you know, where you know, how many orphanages do you hear about in the United States these days?
You know, honestly, not a lot, but you hear a lot of horror stories that come out of like the foster care system and
Hmm.
foster homes and people that kind of abuse that system,
Sure.
um, simply because they get the tax write-offs for it, and then those kids are basically just a paycheck to them, and that's, well, to put it mildly, that's a load of shit, and a load of absolute shit.
Yeah, and that goes back to the kind of the welfare thing and the government subsidizing behavior that is, I would say, immoral. You know, and there are, don't get me wrong, there are foster parents out there who do their level best. There's a guy on YouTube, it's, Gen X Dad. He's on the Gen X
Love
Talks
that
channel.
guy.
Yeah, he's great. Um, and as I understand it, he's been in the foster care system for quite some time. You know, as a foster parent. And I mean, he comes off rough around the edges, but you know, I think a lot of kids out there could benefit from having somebody like him in their lives. I really
Well,
do.
and while he might come off rough around the edges, the one thing I did notice that he does is he tries to teach good moral values. I mean, be it,
Hmm.
and in his case, good moral Christian values, but at least good values to teach someone to be a functioning human being instead of, one of these entitled generation idiots that run around there. Because this is the problem with giving out frickin' participation trophies and giving a ribbon to somebody for just showing up, is you get these people that think they're entitled to whatever in the hell they want. And that's bullshit. There's no entitlement. The world owes you nothing. Everything that you have, everything that you want, you need to work your ass off for. And we need to start instilling that into our children. I mean, obviously a lot of the people that are going to be in this discussion, we do that. We instill those values into our children because that's what we believe, but we need to kind of get that into the culture at large again, because we have so far culturally shifted away from hard work and work ethic and paying off what you do for, getting paid off for what you do. Instead, we just give people things to make them go away. My niece and nephew, I love them to death, and these are from my brother's first marriage, but they're being raised by their mom. And the way their mom was raised was by well-off to do parents who, whenever they didn't want to deal with the kids, they'd say, here's a few $100, go do something. And now I'm seeing that start to show through in my niece and nephew, specifically my nephew. He is such an entitled little shit. Whereas if you look at my brother's two youngest children, my youngest nieces, they're significantly better because their mother and their father help raise them with those hardworking values, those things that are absolutely necessary for our culture to survive.
Yeah. And I would even argue, man, like having a father in the home is obviously the best case scenario, but failing that, having a father figure in your life, somebody to especially for boys, show you how to be a man, to show
Yeah,
you how to make the right decisions, to show you how to stand up for people who need it, you know, to show you how to protect and to you know do all of the things that men are supposed to do, that we're wired to do. I mean, it's in our DNA. We just need someone to point us in the right direction when we're children.
right. And we also kind of need to culturally shift from, and I am not at all against, a strong independent woman don't need no man. All right. I think, women being independent, that's great. I mean, the for all human beings to be independent, I'm cool with that. But what bothers me is that we have gotten to this point that, they, like you said earlier, Sam, that men aren't necessary, not wanted, and are detrimental to everything. And that's horrible. That is a horrific way of thinking about things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go for it.
No, I was gonna say my kids they're playing, so of course I'm like, guys, try to be quiet. So I got up and moved. Just to kind of comment on the whole foster care system. We have a good friend. She's not a strong, independent woman who doesn't need a man, but she's just looking for the right guy. But she has a foster son now. She thinks she's had him for almost 4 years, and she's in the process of trying to adopt him. And it's taxing. I mean, she was explaining to us like how the whole process works and how much money she keeps putting out and trying to prove, I guess her worth to this, or her likelihood of being able to support this child. And it's really sad, but as I said, it's a foster son. Her I guess her brother, she has him step in from time to time because, as I said, she's not married, and her foster son really needs like a father figure, and she's always, saying to, me and my husband how hey, how should I go about this? There's certain things that like my foster son needs to learn, and what can you guys help me, help me like deal with him, because I don't know, I'm a woman. She's like, I know how to nurture and love him, and if he falls down in basketball, all right, you're gonna be okay, get back up, you'll be fine. But what do I do? How would a man handle this? And it just really kind of shows the importance of having a male at in the household. Kids, I mean, kids need that. I totally agree with you
Well,
guys.
they do, and like men and women, they teach differently. Like the
Oh,
way they
absolutely.
teach is differently. Like for instance, say
Absolutely.
you've got a hot burner on a stove, right? A
Mhm.
mother, a mother is going to say, "Don't touch that; it's hot. It
Yeah.
will hurt you. Don't touch
Yeah.
that; it's hot." A father will look around and make sure the mom's not in the room, and they'll say, "Hey, come here for a second.
Oh no.
Hey, put your hand on that for a second." And they'll do it, and they'll get burned, and then he'll say, "Now you know why you don't touch it."
Yeah.
But and I mean, even barring having a father in the home, I think if we could bring back the idea of the positive male role model,
Yeah.
I think
That's what
that
I
would
was
help
getting at. Yeah,
significantly too.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and in the case of your friend looking for the right guy, that is awesome. And the fact that she's struggling so hard to adopt this foster child of hers, that's something that's kind of broken in the system, because if he's been with her for years, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that all that should be proof positive that she can take care of this child. She
I
can take care of this young man.
totally agree. Totally agree.
She's got the receipts to prove it for the last 4 friggin' years.
Yep. The sad part is that there was a potential adoption, like a family, like a mother, a father. They had three other children, and her foster son had gone to stay with this family, and I guess at the very last second they pulled out, and the foster son, was devastated because he keeps telling her, "I don't really know if I want you to adopt me because I want a dad," and it's heartbreaking, like to talk to him and he'll tell you, I want a mom and a dad, and his biological parents are terrible. I mean, luckily she has a great support system, because the foster system down here, where we are, and actually through her church, is run by a really great group, and they do a lot. They have a lot of I guess it's like, they have like big brother, big sister. So like he has like two or three guys from the church who will come and pick him up, and they'll take him, they'll do things with him, but it's it's a shame. It's a shame. Um,
yeah. See, and that's like you'd think that the more stable foster families are the ones that kids stay at, because a lot of the times, if there's an abusive situation or even just a negligent one where they're just taking them in because they want the subsidy or whatever, um, those kids don't tend to stay in those homes. They get rotated around to a bunch of different ones, and they start to feel over time, especially as they get older, that nobody wants them, and it damages them as they move on in life. And it's not a good situation. So when you find a situation like that where the kid's been in the same stable situation, for a remarkably long period of time, given that it is a foster home, right? Why would you not want that to continue, right? Kids need structure, they need stability, and they need to know that they're wanted. And that's been a big problem with the foster care system. And in a lot of cases, foster homes are run by people who are not married. So you'll like get like say, and this is not always a bad thing, but I mean, I applaud anybody who gives kids a home that is not detrimental to them. But sometimes you hear about the 85-year-old lady who passed away, and 30 people showed up to their funeral of all different ages, and it turns out they've all been foster kids who have been raised by her at some point in their life, and they all regard her in some something close to a parent, and maybe they didn't love her, but they respected her, but I'd wager that there was some love there too, or they wouldn't have shown up, kind of thing. And this is a hypothetical, I'm just pulling this out of my butt here. But the those people, I absolutely applaud them. I think they change lives for the better. I really do. But you got your dirt bags who just take the kids in and they beat them or they lock them away or they just ignore them. And then, sooner or later that gets out because, kid's acting out or the kid goes to an adult outside of that foster home, and gets back to the system and the system just moves them to another one that's maybe just as bad, maybe worse, and this happens over and over and over and over again in these kids' lives. And they don't have not only a stable father figure, and a good male role model, but they don't have a good female one either.
Right. You're right.
And I guess that's kind of my overall point. Kids need a mother and a father. They need both. You can't take one out of the equation and expect to have a well-balanced individual by the time they're grown up.
True.
I mean, it can happen, I guess, but the odds of that and the odds of them being successful in life and not getting into any kind of serious trouble is much lower. Maester Chow's right when he brought up earlier that like with the mass shootings with prison statistics in general, a lot of people who were in that system didn't have two parents in the home, or the parents that they had weren't around, or they weren't people you wanted to look up to. And I think actually, if you look at recidivism statistics, people who get in trouble, they go to prison for a couple of years, they do their time, they rehabilitate, they get back out, and they don't, ever go back in because they've moved on with their life. Those guys, I don't know a whole lot in this terms, but a lot of the guys who go in and then come out and then go right back in, a lot of those guys, I'd wager, had no father in the home, or came from a broken home, or were in the foster care system, or even just were orphans who grew up on the street. You need those in order, and without those, you're going to end up with a whole generation that's entirely, focused on themselves and on instant gratification and what I can do for me and why would I help you if it doesn't benefit me, kind of like we're seeing now. And I'm not saying that all these Gen Zers, they didn't have necessarily, missing one or two parents in the home or anything like that. But, when we use tablets and cell phones and TikTok and all that shit to substitute parenting, you get the same effect, but worse because their attention spans are next to nothing. Sorry guys, I did not mean to go on a huge rant here, but them's the breaks.
No, you're good. I mean, you're not completely wrong. I mean, you think about it, the electronics have kind of become the new babysitter of the current age. It's like, oh, I'm busy, here, go play on your tablet, or I'm busy, go watch, Coco Melon, or whatever. It's sad. It's just sad to see.
Yeah.
When's the last time you guys went out to dinner? I mean, so let's like a chain restaurant, right? Like, I mean, even TGI Fridays or like Olive Garden or something.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you've been, I'd say even within the last year or two, they have like you pay at the table now, and they have like on the table they have the little.
Yeah, they got little tablets. Yeah.
There's nothing but videos and games and all kinds of things, and it's like, when is the last time you'd actually gone out and you sit at your table, even if you just go to like, I don't know, Subway or Starbucks, and you just, grab a coffee and just sit there, look at everybody at all the tables. Everybody's glued to their phone, or, their kids are on a tablet. And even then the kids are on a tablet. The parents aren't even talking. Like, nobody knows how to have a conversation anymore. My kids, I tell them, you need to look at me when I'm talking to you. I want to know that, you're intently listening to me. But teenagers, they can't talk to you. They're can't even formulate an actual sentence. It's sad.
Yeah, and I've actually speaking to that point, I've finally gotten my teenager to start putting her damn phone down and actually, engage with us. I mean, every day she has to sit and talk to us and, say, hey, how did your day go? How was this? How was that? And she needs to reply to that without,
yes, Richard, it does,
texting on her phone.
Yeah. It's really a shame. It's really a shame. And these young kids, especially, I mean, like the smaller kids, they're addicted to the phone. They're addicted to the tablet. And like you said, Cocomelon, oh God. And Baby Shark and all, it's a
The
it's a
only
whole
acceptable version of Baby Shark is
If I
the
have to,
metal version
listen
of
to
Baby
that
Shark.
song one more time, I will actually stick my head in a shark's mouth.
listen.
I
The
would
funny
rather
thing,
stick a toothpick under my big toenail and kick a wall.
oh God,
Oh man. All right.
terrible.
So guys, well, no, I thought we had another guest with us. Guess not.
Sorry,
Um,
Jamericans, go with your point. I apologize for
No,
interrupting with a
it's
horrible
okay.
visual.
Listen, that song is really old. That Baby Shark song is super old because I used to sing it when I was in Girl Scouts, and my mom's like, "Yeah, when you were like 6, remember you used to sing it?" I'm like, "No." Well, those home videos, the camcorder. My God,
Oh,
thank God we
yeah.
had it. I was like, Jesus, my God, we really sang that song.
I'm so glad I didn't go to Girl
So
Scouts.
Yes, you should be, but I could go to Boy Scouts. Well, not now, but
no,
yeah,
it's just called Scouts now. They took the boy
Girl
part out
Scouts.
of it.
You're right.
Yeah.
My
Well,
apologies.
like, I mean, I'm conflicted on that because I think, frankly, that Girl Scouts doesn't teach anything useful. I think that girls could learn a lot from Boy Scouts that will serve them later in life. However, I don't think necessarily we should be taking like you want to join Boy Scouts, it's still Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
I beg to differ that Girl Scouts does not teach anything there, Sam. They teach racketeering. They teach mafioso tactics. They will kneecap you if you do not pay for your damn Girl Scout cookies.
Okay. Watch out now.
Right. Well, I mean, this is like, look, I've got girls myself, and the oldest one, she was in Girl Scouts up until she was nearly 18 years old. Her mother was also a Girl Scout. Her grandmother was also a Girl Scout, so it was kind of like a thing with the
Mhm.
family. However, by the time it got to my kid, she wasn't. They weren't even learning, anything of value whatsoever. It was like they'd do World Day or whatever, and so each girl would pick a country, and they'd have to learn facts about that country and like cook a meal from that country. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with those things, but they're not like super useful or anything. I mean, I think
It's
they
not a
taught them.
valuable life skill.
No, it isn't.
You
No,
know.
it isn't. And as far as extracurriculars go, I don't see anything wrong with learning about other cultures. That's fine. What I have a problem with is that's like all they were doing. They weren't learning, and they go camping, but they didn't know how to set up a tent. They didn't know how
Right.
to start a
They don't
fire
teach
or
that
put one
stuff.
out. They didn't know how to, knot tying is essential in Boy Scouts and
Yep.
in life, I would say. And they don't teach them anything like that. They don't have any valuable, survival skills. They don't teach them how to use a knife. They don't teach them how to use a hatchet. They don't teach them tracking. They don't teach them how to identify, poison ivy, for example.
Right.
It's just like, oh, we're out in the woods and we're girls and we're having fun, and I mean, that's fine, but you still
They
should
don't
know
go
what you're
camping.
doing.
Samuel, they don't even go like real camping. It's like the Girl Scout camps that we have here. It's like nice cabins.
Yeah, and
Like
that's what I'm
really
saying.
nice cabins. You're like,
That,
wait,
that-
this
that's
camping.
exactly what I'm saying. I mean, the Girl Scout camp I took my kid to was up on a mountaintop, and it was all like, high end yurt kind of crap.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Boy Scout camp growing up, and we were literally in the middle of nowhere, and
Hmm.
I mean grizzly bears all over the place. So you had to tie your stuff up, up
That's
in a
dirty,
tree
Carrie.
with it.
Dang, Carrie, come on.
That's without a paddle.
Yeah.
But I mean it wasn't uncommon for a freaking grizzly bear to come wandering through the campsites.
Yeah.
But they taught you wilderness survival skills. They taught you things, and it was not yurts. It was you slept in a tent on the ground, and if it was cold, well, you're screwed. Because I mean, this was up near Cody, Wyoming, which is
Ooh.
freaking cold, and I mean cold.
Try and sound a little bit more like Yogi Bear when you say cold.
Oh.
It was cold, boo boo. Hey, get us some picnic biscuits.
Yeah.
Like Zoink Scoob, there was a bear over there.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you before, but Maester Chow here, he does impressions.
Oh, great. Loved it. That's awesome.
I might have to turn my camera on later for my Donald Trump impression so you can see my tiny accordion playing. I don't know why, but I always play a tiny accordion.
That's fantastic.
That's
Um,
great.
we do have one more kind of set and subset of topics here that we haven't got to yet. So I'm going to start it off with an abstract question. And there are two people in chat right now who I've asked this question to, and they have both told me it was a dumb question, but I disagree. So I'm going to bring it up again.
Okay, shoot.
Do clones have souls? And if so, where do they come from? And if not, why not?
I'm gonna let you weigh in on this first, Americans, because I got a little bit of a rant on this one.
No, you're gonna have to go first because I need to think about my answer. I'll be honest, because yeah, never thought about it.
It's not a dumb question, Carrie. The only dumb question is the one not asked. Anyway, so my whole rant on this. There's a particular podcast that I listened to the other day, and the subject of souls actually came up. And one of the continual hosts, he's a very conservative Catholic, and he said, that yes, everyone has a soul. However, there's another host who is, I'd say, fairly leftist. I like this podcast because it's got a pretty good plethora of views on it. But he's like, and just throwing out an arbitrary number, he's like, there was only 1 billion souls created. All right. So only 1 billion people on Earth have souls, which explains why there's so many soulless bastards out there. So if clones have souls, and I would say no, they probably don't, because either A, there's not enough souls to go around, or B, like Sam said, where does the soul come from? I don't believe that it comes from genetics. I believe that it definitely comes from a higher power. It comes from something that we can't understand, comprehend, be it another dimension, be it a creator, be it whatever. The soul is an external force inside of us that exists after our physical being finishes off.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I see. I'm not 100% sold on that because, as you know, when you clone something, like theoretically speaking, say you were able to clone someone and you could accelerate the clone's growth up to the point where you cloned them, and then up until that point, they would, in theory, be the same person, right?
Right.
Which means that every part of them would have had to have been cloned, including the parts we can't see, like, say, a soul, for example. Now, where it gets tricky, and this is, outside of the soul realm, is that at that point, they start having different, memories and experiences. So they essentially branch into two different people from that point, at which point does the original retain the soul and the clone not have one, or does it have a copy of that soul? And if it does, I mean, like, for example, people talk about like all life having souls, like animals and such, and if that's the case, like, we know we can clone them. We clone, the Scottish cloned a sheep in the 90s, named the clone Dolly, right? Although I personally think that sheep are empty vassals myself, but that's just because I don't like sheep. But if you cloned a person whole and actual, right, and they were in fact in every other respect a person, then and you were to assume that all people who were born naturally have souls, then why would the clone not have one? But if it did, like, why, like, where would that come from? Was the original soul cloned, or was it given a new soul by, say, a creator? And if that's the case, like, wouldn't the creator take affront to us stepping in and playing God and then maybe not give this thing a soul? So, like, you can see my conundrum here.
Interesting. Very interesting. I never thought about it.
It's what keeps me awake at night.
I was gonna say you must never sleep. You must be like, huh?
No, he really doesn't.
Yeah, sleep is for sleep
Other
is something
people.
that happens to other people. Yeah, like joy. So,
Now,
but yeah, it's just I think Maester Chow raises a point though about the possibility of a limited number of souls in existence. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the case, but it is an interesting idea. And it would also explain why there only appear to be the 5 sets of facial features on the whole planet, and why it seems like we keep running into the same 5 personalities throughout the course of our lives.
Well, and now bear in mind, it's not my belief that there's only a finite number of souls, because I tend to agree that everyone has a soul. Every human at least has a soul. Animals, I mean, I'm kind of two minds about that. I mean, I get it, the whole all dogs go to heaven type thing, but I think that every human being has to have a soul. What happens to that soul beyond that, I think, is dictated by, their personal set of beliefs. Buddhists will be reincarnated, uh, Christians will go to heaven, atheists will just, vanish into the ether as they would prefer to do. But yes, I do believe that everyone has a soul, and that,
Are you
kind
are,
of.
are, are you referencing On a Pale Horse?
Yeah, actually, I kind of am a little bit, because I can't I can't disagree with what Piers Anthony wrote in that book.
No, I think he put it very well,
I
actually.
mean, and if you've never read it, I highly recommend it. It's not a very long book. It's a pretty quick novel. I think it's only a couple hundred pages, and it
What's it called?
deals with death, and not
Mhm.
so much death as the concept of death, but death as a person holding the office of death, and what happens, around when people die. And it's really an interesting read. I recommend everyone read it. It's a young adult novel. It's not
Mhm.
difficult reading. It's not super deep, but some of the concepts in it are just amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing.
What's it called again?
On a Pale Horse.
On a Pale Horse. I have to check that out. Sounds interesting.
I'll jump onto YouTube and type it in the chat, so that way you can screen grab it, write it down.
Yeah, it's it's the first in a series of, I think, 8 books, but it's probably the best of them.
Yeah.
And because each one deals with a different, it's called the Incarnations of Immortality series. So each one of them deals with a different aspect of a kind of a metaphysical concept made flesh by somebody who takes up that office. Like the office itself is the thing that's immortal, not the person holding it.
Mhm.
You know, and so there's one for nature, one for war, one for fate. These kinds of things. Yeah, and it's oh yeah, he just posted it there in the live chat. So
Perfect.
and yeah, he's right. It's worth a read. And I think that concept of you know what happens to you is dictated by what you think will happen to you.
Mhm.
And by that I mean what you really believe will happen to you. Because you take Christians for example. Christians believe if they accept Jesus and they live their lives as to the best of their ability, being as good of a person as possible, that they'll enter heaven, or at least they have a chance to enter heaven. But then you got people who believe that on the surface, but deep in their hearts, where even they dare not look, they really believe they'll deserve hell.
Right.
And see, that's something I find very interesting about Judaism, actually, because they believe not so much in, oh, have you accepted Christ into your life, and if you do this, you go to heaven. They believe that if you are, and this is pretty much how I believe as well, that if you are a good person, if you genuinely try and do good, genuinely try and be good, you will go to heaven. You will find paradise afterwards.
Mhm.
But if you're just a crap person, well, guess what? It's flushing down the toilet for you.
Yep. So, and that brings up all kinds of questions about faith too.
Mhm.
First and foremost, so like we talk about souls, right? We talk about even people who don't believe in a creator tend to believe in the soul, because otherwise, what else is there? It's just a bunch of electrons and neurons and synapses firing. You know, um,
Mhm.
and what does that matter in the long run? In the long run, it's just meat. You know,
A meat machine powered by electricity.
right. Uh, I mean, possibly the most advanced computer, in existence, but in the end, it's still just a machine. It's still a thing that gets filled up with other things and has no purpose beyond that. Especially, I mean, once you die, you know, that's it. No more. You become food for the next cycle. Um, so even a lot of people who don't believe necessarily in a higher power, at least say they don't, tend to believe in the existence of the soul, or at least a concept similar to that. That there is a part of us that is not tangible. Um, thing is like, if that is the case, and I believe that it is, uh, every part of us needs nourishment. Our minds need to be fed information, in order to grow and to expand and to learn. Our bodies need to be fed food, or we will drop dead. You know, which begs the question: what does the soul need? The soul, and Maester Chow and I discussed this a little bit earlier today. Um, I believe that faith is the food of the soul. Without faith, the soul withers, which I think could be another explanation for why it seems there's so many soulless bastards wandering around, because nobody.
Well, yeah, what do they really believe in? I mean, do they believe in the god of ecumenical politics? Do they believe in the god of, the Judeo-Christian God? I mean, what do they believe in that nourishes their soul?
Well, I
It's
mean,
like I mentioned earlier that my dad's friend said every man needs religion. Not necessarily, Christian religion, Judaism, any kind of religion, but I think mostly just something to believe in so viscerally that it nourishes and feeds your soul.
sure, and I do believe that. I don't know that religion is the word I would choose. I think that ritual is a necessary part of our lives, because it's how we structure our lives, in the same way that we look at time as a linear concept when it may in fact not be. Um, but I think that faith is not religion. Faith is something that you have inside you, that sustains you. I mean, you can apply faith to just about anything. I mean, obviously, you can apply it to the wrong things too. It can go. I mean, it'd be like eating a you know gas station sushi, for example. It's still technically food, but it's not going to end
Is
well.
it though? Is it?
Yeah. Um, but the faith thing, like, every man requires faith in order to survive, to really survive, to live, I would say. Um, what you have faith in, I don't think is as important. And I know there are people in chat who will disagree with me on that, and that's fine. We don't have to agree on everything. But I think that it's important that you have the faith. I think, actually, speaking of your avatar there, I believe, Shepherd Book,
Hey,
in the
don't
movie
don't steal
Serenity.
my quote. Don't you dare do it, you bastard.
Fine, you say it.
It's Shepherd Book, Shepherd Darrell Book, who found his faith in a bowl of soup, said the most profound thing in the world. He said, I don't care what you believe in, just believe in it.
Yeah, I was going to steal that quote.
Yeah, dick.
I was just going to steal it. Although, to be fair, you stole it from a movie, but whatever.
Yes, yes, I did. Yoink.
But it's a good point. It is, because even evil people believe in something. Even people who are, truly just the monstrous of the monstrous, they believe in something, and in many cases they believe harder than your average person, or even people who would term themselves good people. They have that faith that in their case, in a lot of cases like that, it's more of a, I have the faith that the way I see the world is correct, that I am correct, that I am the only thing that matters, and that my agenda and my will are what is going to happen. And I mean, they believe it wholeheartedly, down to the bottom of their black souls, which is, I think, actually, you end up with, because people who truly don't have any faith, right? Their soul withers and it dies on the vine, as it were. You know, these are the kind of people that you see just sort of like moving through life, going through the motions, but there's no real light behind their eyes. They're not necessarily for anything. They're not necessarily against anything. They might pay it lip service, but they don't really have any conviction behind it. You know, Yeah, I mean, even if you watch them eat, they don't really seem to even mean the act of eating. They're just doing it because, it's what's expected of them. Because there's no soul there anymore, because they didn't feed the soul. They had no
Mm.
faith in anything, not themselves, not their families, not their gods. And I mean, if I were to define a zombie in actual real world terms, that's what I would say is what that looks like. You know,
Makes sense to me.
Oh, interesting.
yeah. So, I don't know. Thoughts?
Sorry, I was reading the chat. Sorry. Earlier I was on the computer, so I was also seeing the chat and I was, paying attention. This is a good conversation. A lot of, like I told you earlier, I just came from work and I'm here thinking, I'm like, oh my God. So if I'm really quiet, it's because now I'm thinking like the wheels are turning. I'm like, oh my God. Like, now I'm like, oh my God. So you'll probably get an email later, be like, hey, Samuel, we got to talk about this. I got questions. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, we're here talking now. You got questions?
No. I'm thinking through the whole process. Actually, I was like over here when I put the phone down, I was writing down the name of the book so I can get it. So, okay.
Yeah. No, I think though that's an excellently it's at least food for thought. The
Yeah.
topic. I spend an inordinate amount of my time pondering such things. Again, what keeps
Mm-hmm.
me up at night. When I'm not digging around in the politosphere. No.
Mm-hmm.
Or working my day job because I have one of those too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was, and Maester Chow and I have had conversations to this effect for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a man, he's a great guy to bounce ideas off of. He really is. Um, but that today, I guess, I don't know, unless we have anything further on that subject. I think it's been probably a pretty good show. We're a little bit over an hour. Might come down to later on in later shows. We might try and stretch it out a little bit further, but this might be a good place to leave it, in a place of thoughtfulness.
Yes, I
Yep.
like it.
And I mean, definitely, if you think of anything that you want to bring up next time,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me and Sam, we sat and had a brainstorming session this morning, just to be like, hey, what should we talk about today?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, if you come up with anything, absolutely bring it up, because I love hearing other people's ideas, and I love discussing other people's ideas, because that's how I feed my soul.
Okay. All right. Listen, I'm with it. Yeah. And my husband would have been here, but he's dealing with the kids. So otherwise, I'm sure he would have been all over this conversation with you guys. But now I'm like I said, the wheels are turning. I'm off on a whole nother path. I'm thinking. So
Kohai Masochist here asks a very interesting question. I hadn't considered that before. If someone doesn't feed their soul and it withers away, are they able to get it back by feeding it again? I don't know. Maybe.
So, I'd like to I'd like to chime in on this one, specifically because I've kind of been down that road a little bit. I don't think your soul withers and dies completely. I think it's much more akin to a fire. You've got a bank of coals. You've got potential there to get this fire roaring again. And if it's withered away and died down to almost nothing, if you find the right things and you add the right fuel to it, yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that, yes, you can get it back by feeding it, much the same way as you can build a fire back up by feeding it. I mean, all it takes is to bring something into your life with enough meaning to really help you find purpose, to really help feed that part of you that just feels empty inside. And to anyone out there that feels like their soul has withered, that their life has lost meaning, I pray for you. I hope that you will find some kind of edification, some kind of meaning, and something to help feed your soul. And I really, really look forward to hearing people's stories about doing just that.
Yeah, I think that yeah, that was good. I don't I'm gonna have to think about that one, Kohai. Maybe I'll have an answer for you in the next 10 years. But that is a very interesting question because I had not considered that before. It just kind of, I missed that one. So thank you for bringing it up, though. Excellent question. And Ozzy here asks, if a soul is immortal, how can it die? I wouldn't say that it dies in the same sense that, say, a body dies. If it dies at all. More in the sense that even when a star finishes its life cycle, there's still something left behind. That might be a little bit too much of a tangible comparison. Since stars exist in the physical world, and we know that. But I mean, you might get my point from that. I don't know that. I think Mr. Chow might be right. There might be a kernel left, like it shrivels down, but it's not totally gone. Possibly.
I'll have to do that, Carrie. I mean, looking at the track now, talking to Caucasian Sasquatch, assuming that's a real person.
Yes, he is actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
I would love to have conversations about that. I mean, like I said, I'm not a particularly practicing religious person. I believe very, very strongly in a lot of religious tenements, but I love discussing things like that.
Yep. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, I think, guys, everybody out there in the YouTube lands, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. I think we had a pretty good discussion today. Topics are going to vary from show to show. We'll see what happens. I like to interject a little humor in here and there because sometimes the world is a dark place and you need to start a fire to light it up. And sometimes my jokes will be inappropriate. I'm just warning you ahead of time. They will be, because I have a nasty sense of humor. Yeah, she knows.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yes, guys, chat. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating in the conversation. Really. And to our guest, Mrs. Jamaican, and Mr. Jamaican, wherever he may be.
Kitchen cooking dinner.
And with my co-host here, Garth. I mean, Maester Chow.
Party on, Wayne.
We party on, Garth. We do say thank you. So to everybody out in YouTube land, watch, don't watch, do whatever you want. It's your show. It's my show, but
Carrie, maybe we'll bring up some 2A next time because yeah, I'm interested in talking about that too. I'm an absolutist. Thanks much.
Carrie's got some stuff on it that I think you'd be very interested in. He sent me a bunch of emails about it.
Also, Ozzy, if you're ever wanting to have that discussion and you know how to get a hold of Sam knows how to get a hold of me. We'll make something happen. I'd like to hear your points of view on that. Just so you know.
Yeah, he does too. He also has my email. So all right. Well, YouTube land, thanks so much. This is your dancing monkey. Signing off.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Bye.